Hey, welcome everyone to another episode of Five Lug Racing. With you, as always, Don and my partner in crime, Ryan. We're here to talk about everything Las Vegas, baby. We are going racing across all three series this weekend. It's going to be a great weekend all the way around. Can't wait to talk about it. Ryan, let's do it, Bubba. Let's break it down.
Yeah, it's great to see all three series back on the track. With the truck series, we really haven't had much of a sample size. This is their first intermediate track that they're running this season. So really get to see the what's what in the NASCAR Truck Series this weekend and kind of get a better shakedown of um, you know, who's going to be a contender in this series now that we get some of that super speedway pack racing out of the way.
Right.
What a week we just came off of, though. Excellent finishes both in the Xfinity series race and in the NASCAR Cup Series race at Phoenix. It was absolutely great racing at the end of those races. Of course, with the Xfinity series, Don, we got that late race caution.
Oh,
It
yeah.
looked like it was in the bag. You texted me and go, well, it looks like Justin's going to win this thing. And then the caution comes out. And,
Yep.
Justin Allgaier was absolutely gutted. You could see the look on his face after he got out of that car and just hung his head. I mean, there's, you know, nothing he could do.
He
The way,
understands as a veteran of the sport that you run into bad luck. It's all about the way you handle it, and he handled it like a true professional. He
Absolutely.
late cautions happen. It can mess up your team's hard work as a whole and kind of take a win away from you that you probably would have gotten. But like I just said, he's a professional. He handled it very well, and he can use that motivation moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And then congratulations to Eric Amarola and his 19 team in the Xfinity Series. They got it done. You could say they stole one, but you know what? He really did have a fast car,
Absolutely.
throughout the course of the race. I mean, it was just a handful of drivers that really I thought could contend with Justin Allgaier, what he had, because he was just dominant. But the 19 was certainly one of those cars. So, yeah, it is what it is. Like you said, that's part of racing. So,
Yep.
and then of course, the excellent finish that we saw take place at the end of the NASCAR Cup Series race. Huge congratulations to Christopher Bell and the Joe Gibbs Racing 20 team. They are on an absolute tear right now, and three in a row. It's been done 30 times in our sport by some drivers have done it multiple times, some even multiple times in the same season. So when you dwindle down that list, it's really been done by a lot less drivers than the number 30 I just gave you. But it just incredible feat. And it was really an exciting finish too. There's a brief moment where I thought Denny Hamlin was going to potentially have the momentum on the outside. It was really smart and strategic how Bell used the dog leg and kind of used the lower part of the track to extend his entry into the corners and move Hamlin and kind of dictate where Hamlin could run the race, right?
Right.
Because they're teammates and they're not going to risk the guy behind him and Kyle Larson stealing a win away from,
Both
JGR
right, right.
Toyota,
They did a,
you
they
know.
did they did a great job of taking up both lanes so that Larson didn't really have much to work with. Even
Right.
if he had any kind of speed to get up behind him close enough, the dirty air that the 20 and the 11 were putting off, it was going to be very unlikely for Larson to get around both of them. So at least they managed that aspect correctly, and they didn't wreck each other going to the finish line.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, the other thing that played into the end of this race was a good handful of a good handful of drivers who played out their strategy were able to end the race on the red set of tires,
Yep.
that option tire that NASCAR brought to Phoenix. And I'm just going to say it as far as speaking my own opinion that we can't go backwards anymore unless something else changes.
Right.
I need to have option tires at Phoenix at the championship race. I'm hats off to NASCAR for bringing them out here, run them in the spring. Let's see what it does. We saw in Richmond last year. It was phenomenal racing there, and it needs to be at Phoenix going forward. unless something changes where we get a repave or whatever may be the case. But the tires are starting to have some fall off. I also think that speed differential with that softer tire versus only having two sets and having to strategically use them. We saw early in the race teams that were buried with poor track position, needed to try to leapfrog drivers, were able to capitalize on those softer tires, get the speed. Ryan Preece in his 60 Ford was one that comes to mind because he passed like 30 drivers and was running third for a while.
Yep.
And just it gives you that advantage to flip track position, whether it helps you get stage points or flip that track position and hope that you're able to keep it through how the race runs. I mean, nobody can dictate how cautions are going to fall except for the stages, and nobody can dictate how other teams are going to do it. So it was quite curious to see how it was going to work out and play out for some of these drivers. And I really just thought it was an exciting race because those options played into the strategy, and it eliminates the fact of fuel races. Don, you had said something to me, and I don't disagree. Bring them to every track. Every track where it would be safe to bring them,
Absolutely.
because I think any track that typically would just be a fuel mileage race, it throws that out the window, right?
Absolutely.
That extra added wrinkle. NASCAR is not adverse to trying different things, which I like, and those that work, why not try to implement it?
Yeah, absolutely.
One of the most successful forms of racing in the world, Formula One, has it every weekend, every
Yep.
track they go. Now, given they're running road courses and it's different than running a high banks at Daytona on a softer tire or not. And obviously, I don't think we don't run restrictor plates anymore. I got to get off of saying that, but that's how long I've been a fan. Okay.
Hey, I do it too.
But the pack races, the super speedway pack racing, you're not going to run that tire.
Right.
But on a intermediate track, and heck, even road courses, you can try it if NASCAR continues to work with Goodyear and getting something they could bring out. I love the tire that they brought Dakota. That did
Yeah.
have fall off. If a tire falls off, that adds such a dynamic to the race because the drivers just can't beat up what they have. They have to finesse it and they have to make it last. And sometimes going slower or not going as aggressive on your equipment actually makes you run faster laps. So,
Yep.
and it creates for better racing and more passing opportunities. So I'm here for it. We got to keep that red tire. I definitely want to see that in the championship race. Since we're not getting a different track, we gotta do something different.
No,
And that tire's it.
you said it so well. I think the red option tire would be a great thing to add to these races. Again, there's going to be some tracks that it's not going to be necessary for, but there are a lot of tracks that would benefit from it overall as a whole. And NASCAR, like you said, doing a great job trying new things and bringing the tire options for the teams to try out, letting them practice on them, and then giving them a couple sets in the race, and y'all figure it out from there. I think it's great. I think it's wonderful. I think it would tremendously raise even more of the road course racing, especially with this next gen car. The next gen car races tremendously well at road courses, and giving them a softer tire option where they can battle more. Shoot, sign me up, man.
Yeah, yeah, I hear you, and it's something I definitely think that they should explore and look into. I mean, I think they're getting more and more data from it, and the fans obviously like it, and I don't think the drivers hate it. It's something I think that if it's working, you got to continue to try it out,
What
and
driver doesn't want a faster car
right, or a car that handles better,
that handles
because
better? Right.
yeah, so I mean, like I said, I don't think the drivers hate it.
Yep.
And speaking of drivers and hating it, I want to bring up Denny Hamlin because Denny was quite vocal after this weekend's race and said um, kind of one thing at the track and then one thing on Monday, the Monday morning quarterback thing on
Right.
his own podcast. And it's quite interesting that it comes at a shot at his teammate. And I bring this up because I rewatched it. And a matter of fact, before we sat down to film this episode, I rewatched the end, just the last 2 laps of that race on repeat a couple more times. Denny's like, for sure, I knew he'd use me up, blah, blah, like just kind of went a little bit aggressive and over the top on how he talked about how Bell raced him. And, Christopher Bell, I think, raced him no differently than how Denny Hamlin would have if the cars were in a different position on the track.
Right.
And how I've seen Denny race other drivers as well. There was zero contact made. And I just don't know how Christopher Bell could have done anything different other than hold his line and be aggressive at the end of the race, trying to get his 3rd win in a row. I get it. Denny hasn't had the finishes he's wanted this season yet. He had a shot to win the race. Thought maybe he'd steal one from his own teammate. Because let's be honest, the 20 team was elite all race long. That
Is
car,
elite.
yeah, is elite, absolutely. But when we're talking about the dynamics of this race,
Correct.
when Christopher Bell was on yellow tires, he was running lap times equivalent to Joey Logano, who was on reds at one point.
Yep.
Now, I know that Logano had to throttle back a little bit to save those tires and get the laps that he needed out of those tires to make sure the sequences all worked out.
Right.
But still, when you looked at the lap average times from what he was running versus some of the others that were on the reds, when those reds leveled out, he was the consistency of that car, no matter what tire he was on, and listening in on the scanner when they asked him, what do you need? And this is when he was on the yellows, by the way, and caution, stage break. And he goes, I'm not really sure. I'm really comfortable everywhere.
Yep.
When a race car driver says that and they have the speed, like they're up front and they have that speed, oh my goodness. As a crew chief, you got to be smiling because you did your job right. You got that car set up absolutely right. And it's a long day for everybody else because unless Bell hurts himself, which it's happened, it has happened, he's human, but unless he or the team hurts themselves with a self-inflicted wound somehow, nobody's beating him really, right? And I just found it interesting, Denny's take. And it kind of leads me to feel like maybe Denny is starting to feel what I've noticed. It's hard not to notice is that paradigm shift. Who's king of the castle at Joe Gibbs Racing right now? Last year, I would say the 20 and the 11 were almost neck and neck. This year, there's no doubt, obviously 4 races in, Christopher Bell has won 75% of those races. And the other race was won by a Hendrick Chevy at Daytona.
Let's not
So
forget where Christopher Bell was at the end of that Daytona race too. So
yeah, he had a legit shot to win the Daytona fight. The bro could be 4 for 4 right now. That
right.
is wild.
Right.
But the team's been good. And on those draft style tracks, yes, you need to be in the right place at the right time, take advantage, all those things, blah blah blah. But to go out and have a really good piece at a road course, and then to go out and have your first short track / intermediate hybrid, that's what Phoenix is to me. It's a concept of the both in my eyes.
Right.
And it's a flat track though, but a place that Bell's statistically really good at. And he goes and backs it up, and just another dominant performance. He was dominant there last year. He did it again this year. Won that same race back-to-back years. His 3rd race in a row. And just the model consistency that the 20 team has had. I just really start to wonder if Christopher Bell is kind of taking the reins at JGR, and Denny Hamlin is starting to take notice. And I don't know if some of it is Denny's own doing, whether he's tied up with his own race team in 2311, let's call it what it is. He's running a really successful race team at 2311.
Correct.
So I will put a feather in his cap there, because there was a lot of doubt, and there's still a lot of haters out there for what he's doing, partnering up with Michael Jordan. But that team has been nothing but good for the sport and has brought a lot of energy into the sport. So again, feather in his cap. Now, Denny's on the back half of his career too. We can talk about that. I still think Denny Hamlin is an elite driver. I'm going to call it for what it is. He's good. Okay, and
He had
and
3 wins last year for a reason.
anybody who wants to say differently is just full of themselves. Denny
Right.
Hamlin's a good driver, like him or not. Whether he's an acquired taste for you or not, he's a good race car driver. He's
Right.
still a good race car driver. He's still
Correct.
going to win races this year. Now, I could put my foot in my mouth. He could pull Kyle Busch on us and go absent from victory lane. That would be a hot take I'm not ready to make. I see performance in that car. Obviously, he finished second this week, and I know the team, right? So I just don't feel that that's the case yet. We're not there yet, but I do believe that there is a paradigm shift, and I'm just curious what your thoughts are on that, Don.
Yeah, I have to absolutely agree. As far as the paradigm shift in Joe Gibbs Racing and Christopher Bell, that is his team now. And, as quiet and as humble as Christopher Bell is, we're seeing a little bit different C Bell this year. And it might not be a vocal thing, but it's the way he's carrying himself. And it's the way he's letting everybody know in the littlest amount of words he can. I'm here this guy. I'm here this year, guys. And if you want to stop me, come and try, because he's, like you said, 3 out of 4 races and a chance to be 4 for 4. That kid is not messing around anymore. The way his season came to an end last year, a race earlier than his team would have liked, given the circumstances at Martinsville. But this year, it's head down. It's just feet dug in, and they are going to work. And it's actually, if you're not paying attention, start paying attention, because it's a pretty special thing to be watching right now as a racing fan. And to kind of piggyback and elaborate on the whole Denny Hamlin thing, I think Denny feels that same thing. I think he feels the shift has taken place. It's no longer his team when he's so used to walking in the door and that being Denny Hamlin's team, right? I would still argue that when Kyle Busch was winning the championships at Joe Gibbs, that Denny still, it was kind of level between him and Kyle. That's just kind of my opinion on it. I think Denny is, man, I'm trying to word this the correct way. I think he's bothered that he's not winning the races like he used to win. And then you add the fact that it's his teammate doing it. That kind of doubles down on the pressure and the stress and everything that goes on as a race car driver when you're a top tier team at this level. Denny, like you said, he's going to win races. He's going to be just fine. He is great for the sport. Again, whether you like him or dislike him, that's irrelevant. He is great for NASCAR from an ownership standpoint and as a driver.
Yep.
I think maybe some of the stresses of the season, like including losing one of his biggest sponsors in FedEx this year, can add to the pressure of being successful. And when you're already not as successful as you're used to being, he had kind of a rough playoff run last year. Let's not let that go either. That weighs on a driver's mind and shoulders too. Denny, I think he'll be just fine. We're going to see him in the playoffs. But let's let a few more races play out, and let's see how Denny's talking, in a couple Mondays after he undoubtedly goes out and wins a race.
Right, right. And while we're on the topic of JGR and Joe Gibbs Racing, I have to bring up another name from that camp. You know, First I'm going to mention very briefly. I think we gotta we if you're Chase Briscoe, you've got to try to find your way in the next couple weeks.
Right.
You've had some misfortune. You had your back up against the wall with the penalty that got erased, and then just found yourself in a bad spot this past weekend in Phoenix, and got caught up in a wreck. And I know he's the new guy on campus, right? So I know he's feeling that pressure too of wanting to find his way and just kind of settle and get a rhythm, right? And they really haven't had a chance to do that yet. So I look to see more of that out of him and his 19 team. But the one that I want to bring up is the 54 car and Ty Gibbs. We talk about Joe Gibbs Racing, right? They're an elite team. And Right now, as far as that paradigm shift or totem pole goes, Ty's definitely at the bottom of it.
Correct.
And it is, Ty, who was very successful in the Xfinity series. He's a champion in the Xfinity series. I know he went through absolute triumph that day, only to have the absolute worst of tragedies happen on that same night, losing his father. And then, carrying on and, just I don't know what's going on with Ty, but the results just have not been there. And we have to call that for what it is. If we're going to cover the sport and there's an elephant in the room, we can't not point out the elephant. And
Right.
the elephant in the room is, when's Ty Gibbs going to perform at Joe Gibbs Racing? Because his streak of last 10 plus races going into last season have been abysmal. Um,
That's
you
being
know,
generous.
yeah, it's just, you know, dude is struggling to finish 20th, and it's just, I don't think it's a lack of equipment.
Mm.
Um, I don't know if they need a crew chief change. I don't know if they need, I don't know if they, what it is,
Could
and
it
I
be
don't,
could it be a mental thing with Ty now?
it could,
He's never really struggled with this type of adversity before, especially being as successful as he was in the Xfinity series.
mhm,
He actually wasn't doing terrible his first two seasons up until the end of last year, and
right,
just all it's done is snowball at the beginning of this season. So maybe it's a mental thing. Maybe there's something going on behind the scenes that we don't know about. You just never know. And like you said,
right.
he's got to start performing, or we got to start talking about potential seat change. Is somebody else going to end up in the 54 car?
Right, and like I said, it's an elite team, right? And yes, his grandfather owns that team, right? And so we'll just call that for what it is, because I know there's going to be somebody who goes, well, he's a silver spoon.
It's a family sport.
Listen, listen, it's a family sport, but at the same time, and yes, he's had the resources his whole life, but at the same time, he's produced in the sport. Okay, he's
Right.
a champion in the sport. So let's not discount that.
Correct.
Okay, I'm not here to discount and I'm not here to bash Ty Gibbs. I'm here to ask what's going on,
Yeah.
because um, I I remember last year, before he went on this absolute abysmal skid that he's on. We were wondering, when's he going to break through and get that first win. It seemed like it might be, you know, but now it's like you said, the snowball, and it's gone backwards.
Yeah.
It's snowballed down the worst possible way,
Right.
where I feel like the only way is up for them. And, it's something to watch going forward. And how, we're 4 races into the season, guys. Um, we're going to start seeing who's the contenders and who's the pretenders. And I want to bring that, and transition into the next thing, because this is kind of shocking. Joey Logano, our champion from last year, is the first NASCAR champion to not have a top 10 finish in the first 4 weeks of the following season. Um, again, I think, the comparison. I'm not comparing Joey Logano to Ty Gibbs, by the way. Anybody, guys? I just by any means,
Right.
please don't misconstrue that. But what I'm saying is, he's another guy who's going to need a good run soon. I think we're going into a track where he can get that done.
And let's not
He
forget, he was controlling that race until he had that self-inflicted wound by crossing the yellow line just a half a foot too early,
Mhm.
guys. We're talking about your tire being on that yellow line as the back of his car is coming off the start finish line. He
But the
broke
car never he never rebounded from that.
car could not perform in traffic as well as he had liked, as strong as it was out front, which is what I think they set that car up to be successful out front all day. And once he got caught up in the all the dirty air, man, that was it. So that definitely need to see a strong showing from Joey Logano. And like you said, we're going to a track where he's got a chance to do something about it.
Yeah, and I want to give a shout out to another car, that, or two cars really, that I've seen performing really well as a team. We talked about contenders and pretenders, right? And Legacy Motorsports. Let's give a shout out to them. I've seen some growth from them this year, and I know, they've been growing within the Toyota program themselves. They really got Jimmy Johnson full time in the Cup Series as far as an owner now, right? He's not preoccupied with a lot of different things and having to worry about running an Indy car or,
Right.
whatever may be the case. I really think, and they made some key changes in the offseason as well. Even Jimmy, I mean, his 84 team, even though that's a part-time team, he gutted who was running the show there because the results weren't there. And now they're starting to get those results. I was starting to see those legacy cars out front. And John Hunter Nemechek has been one to show for it. He's finished every race on the lead lap this year so far. And that's huge. I mean, that's really, really big for a smaller team like that. So
Absolutely.
shout out to Legacy Motorsports, who we may not talk about a lot on here, but they're giving us a reason to, and
Yep.
and that's exciting. And we're going to recognize what needs to be recognized there. But yeah, and it's exciting going into our fifth week of the season. We're at Vegas, baby. Winners become losers and losers become winners sometimes. It's
Yep.
just that that's
Just a
that's
roll of the dice.
that's Las Vegas for you. It's going to be really, really fun and exciting weekend, and I'm super stoked to break this part of the segment down because I watched, I know we both did our homework going into this show. Uh, just wanting to be able to give a good cap on the Vegas race, and just looking back at this track, I forget how much I love it, as a fan, and just historically, some of the great racing that we've seen here. We've seen it start off as when I remember when this track, inaugural races, and for a while there was a stranglehold of Roush Racing. It was just, Mark Martin, Greg Biffle,
Yep.
Matt Kenseth. They just owned this place for a while, and then you saw it change hands. The Chevys take over for a little bit, and then you get those Vegas natives that come in here, and Kyle Busch rattles off some. It's just it's been fun to see, and now it's kind of been all over the place as far as who's what, except for one thing. There's been one consistent, and in my eyes, and it's no favorite that he's the favorite this weekend, tied with our 3 in a row winner, and that's Kyle Larson. Kyle Larson is coming in this weekend at plus 400, and that is the same as Christopher Bell.
Nice.
So they are tied as the odds-on favorite by Vegas. Not the track, the actual, gambling unit. But yeah, Kyle Larson's a name we're going to have to talk about this weekend because, this is, I know we saw him finish third last week, but this is definitely a place, if they're looking for a good finish, that they feel great going into. I expect to see all the Hendrick cars really strong here this weekend. Hendrick Motorsports definitely no slouch when it comes to this style racetrack. William Byron, Kyle Larson's teammate, he has the fourth best odds going into the weekend at plus 800. And that is somebody else who has performed really, really well here. And I don't discount his teammates. Alex Bowman definitely can put together a great run here as well. His odds are not as favored. They typically never are because he's just not as high performing at that team. Chase Elliott is plus 1,800 and Alex Bowman is plus 2,500. So as far as your Hendrick Chevys go, any one of them sure could have a good weekend. But if I had to pick a favorite, it's definitely that 5 car. As far as the Hendrick camp goes. When we look at the average finishes coming into this track, though, and the sample size of the last 6 races, and we factor out the one who's not an active driver here this weekend in Martin Truex Jr., we got to take him out of here because he had the third best average finish, but he don't count anymore. Uh,
That's
Ross
right.
Chastain and Trackhouse Racing. And Trackhouse Racing as a team in 12 races has an average finish of 10.4. That's quite impressive. Since February of 2022, we know that Trackhouse hasn't existed for that long of a period of time, this seems to be a track that they get results at. And Ross Chastain has an average finish in 6 races of 5.5 with 4 top 5s and 5 top 10s. So, and he's led a lot of laps here too. He's led 9.5% of laps here. So that's quite impressive. So if you're looking for a little bit of a dark horse this weekend, I have to tell you, when I was scrolling the favorites for Ross Chastain after seeing those, I expected him to see a higher towards the top, but he's plus 2,200. So a $10 bet there wins you $230. You want to roll the dice since it's Vegas. If you're a bettor, that's not a bad one to look at. And William Byron, I mentioned the Hendrick cars. He's second there with an average finish of 6.7. His teammate right behind him at 8.7. Kyle Larson, by the way. And you know, when it comes to picking favorites for this weekend, we're going to get to that. But I also want to mention, I want to give an honorable mention to a guy uh, who I think is going to be a very, very strong, and the team is going to be very, very strong as long as he can keep himself off his roof. And that's Tyler Reddick. Uh,
Absolutely.
Tyler Tyler Reddick comes in here with the third best odds this weekend at plus 650. So if you want to throw a $10 bet on Tyler Reddick, you could get a $75 return on that investment if he parks it. I definitely think the 45 camp is going to be strong. Having a little bit of insider knowledge, I know that this is one that the 45 camp has circled. So, there's going to be some teams swinging their best bat at that 20 car this weekend.
Yep.
But the 20 car coming in hot, of course, trying to make history this weekend because um, only 8 drivers in NASCAR history have won 4 races in a row. It's been done by 8 different drivers. And, Christopher Bell's trying to add his name to the list and become the ninth. And,
And it's been
you know,
18 years since anybody has done it, too.
Yeah, 2007 was the last time. That's Jimmy Johnson, who was the last time to do it. Jimmy Johnson, if you guys remember back to '07, that was an incredible 5 race stretch for him. He roused off 4 in a row to win his championship. And it just, what a way to end the season, right? To win 4
Right.
races in a row. He just said, if you're going to win a championship, you got to come through me. And he just closed it out. They were just lights out.
Yep.
But, of the drivers, I got to read this list because of the drivers who have done this, they're all in the Hall of Fame. So, and it's no mistake. I mean, look at the careers that these guys have. So the first one to ever do it was Cale Yarborough. The second one to do it was Darrell Waltrip. The third to do it was Dale Earnhardt. Then Harry Gant. Then Bill Elliott, Mark Martin, Jeff Gordon, and then we just mentioned Jimmy Johnson. So
I
what
cannot
an
believe the name Richard Petty did not come out of your mouth in that list. How?
you're absolutely. Yeah, it's insane, right?
Wow. Of
Richard Petty has won 3 in a row on
course.
2 different occasions, but he has not done the 4 in a row. And yeah, I mean, when you look at that list, I didn't expect to see Harry Gant on there.
Right. Right.
But
Yeah.
that, and heck, I grew up a Bill Elliott fan, and I didn't expect to see his name on that list either. But
Right.
there was a point in time where Bill was quite dominant. So but yeah, I mean that is an impressive list. And again, that's a list that everybody knows the names on there. If you're a NASCAR fan, I'd be shocked if you didn't hear those names before. So
Right.
living under a rock if you're a NASCAR fan and haven't heard those names. But yeah, just I had to name them off because that is just an impressive list. And for Christopher Bell to potentially etch his name onto that list and become the ninth person ever in NASCAR history to do it, and nobody's done it twice, by the way. That's how hard it is to do.
Wow.
That's just that's impressive. And
And I got to piggyback on the Seabell thing real quick. We're talking about a potential 4 in a row this weekend, and then like not getting ahead of ourselves, but I got to mention it. They're going to another favorable track in Homestead right after that, guys. Like we're
right.
potentially talking about some history, y'all. So
Yeah, that'd
It's
be wild if he gets 4 and then gets legit would have a shot at 5, because Homestead is another track that is a track he's won at and
yep,
he loves,
yep.
where you can rim ride the top of the banks there, and
I'm old dirt guy.
um, yeah, absolutely. But just absolutely bonkers when you see that list and know that he has a shot at history. And that's why I'm just going to tell you right now. And yes, listen, it's well documented. I am a Christopher Bell fan. Okay, it is what it is. As far
Everybody's got
as
a driver, man.
everybody's got their drivers, and Bell is definitely. I kind of have like a 1A, 1B thing going on there, but there's a handful from dirt racing that came up through the ranks at the same time.
Yep,
Bell is one of those. Reddick, and we got my boy Briscoe as well.
yep.
It's just is what it is. But yes, I am a Bell fan, and yes, he is my favorite to win this weekend. He has given me no reason to bet against him. He's given you at home listening no reason to bet against him. And after sitting down and chatting with Darrell Edwards this past week, what an amazing interview. Darrell, if you're listening, watching, thank you. We appreciate you taking time out of your evening the other night to come chat with us and
Appreciate you, bud.
finally get that interview done. But what an incredible interview! If you haven't seen it yet, please go check that out. It's well worth the watch. But yeah, after sitting with him and just the confidence that he is oozing right now, um, yeah, I'm locked in. No favoritism as far as being a homer. It's just straight up being a person with eyeballs and
Yep.
understanding the statistics and how much Christopher Bell wants to win a race at Las Vegas, especially after Logano stole one from here last fall. I just know there's a little bit of extra motivation there. And yeah, Bell's my favorite, Don. I'll go ahead and give you my dark horse, and then I want to hear yours.
All
My
right, man.
dark horse, I'm not going against the grain. 4 weeks ago, I could have told you he might have been my favorite, but then Bell went on this stupid tear that he's on. But yeah, Kyle Larson in the 5 car. I'll just leave it at that.
It's a great choice, man. It's hard to bet against him. If we look back at 2024 spring Las Vegas race, Kyle Larson, stage 1 winner. Kyle Larson, stage 2 winner. Kyle Larson, race winner. Guys, he absolutely dominated the spring race last year. There's no reason to really bet against the guy this upcoming week unless he runs into a little bit of bad luck. Happens to everybody. But Kyle Larson and that 5 crew are really good about making sure they don't put themselves in a bad position to not win. I fully expect that 5 car to be up towards the front, if not leading a lot of this race.
Right, right. Absolutely. And for those who don't remember, too, when he got reinstated by NASCAR, comes back his first year with Hendrick Motorsports. The first race that he won that year was at Las Vegas. So,
Great.
and he's won a handful here with Hendrick Motorsports in that 5 car. So, yeah, definitely. I'm locked in on Larson. And yeah, it's a Bell Larson weekend for me. What you got, Don?
I love it, man. As far as dark horses go, we talked about them very briefly here earlier. Also, the fact that this Chevy camp could really use some motivation, a little bit of good mojo, a little bit of good vibes. Nothing like a little bit of a watermelon smash to get that kind of thing rolling. But go ahead and give me that Ross Chastain, man. He knows how to win at these styles of tracks. He's very, very talented and very, very aggressive at these style of tracks. So look for that 1 car to be making some noise by the end of this thing for sure.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, a real dark horse on that one.
Yeah, I like it. I like it.
As far as my winner, again, we've mentioned him before. I really want to pick Kyle Larson. I know that when it comes to racing, it's hard to continue to keep winning at the same racetrack, and so somebody's eventually got to break that up a little bit. I love your pick in Seabell. It's another one of those. It's hard to pick against him because he is so successful, because that 20 crew is so locked in right now. But I'm going to go ahead and lean towards another dirt racer for the style of track that it is. I got to go with our boy Tyler Reddick there in the 45 camp in 2311 Racing. He's looking to etch his name into a win column this season. He wants to get it over with quick. That way they can immediately focus their attention on the playoffs. Those guys made the championship for last year, and they have some unfinished business to take care of. And if you think they're just going to lay over and let the season roll by without Tyler rattling off a few wins, I got some news coming for you because it's going to happen anyway, whether we like it or not. So give me Tyler Reddick and Ross Chastain for this week, man.
I love those picks. And, again, I rattled off the thing about, Ross. I mean, how can I hate that? I mean, stats show me with that average finish of 5.5. I mean, in a sample size of the last 6 races, that why not? And then,
Good.
you go to Tyler Reddick, who, I think has had some misfortune at this track. Obviously, like I said, I quoted about and not ending the race on his roof. He's got a great chance this weekend. He's going to be very, very fast. He's third in points. He's had a really good season so far. And we're going into a couple Tyler Reddick racetracks where he gets to dial up the wick and go chase a couple trophies to punch his ticket to the playoffs. Absolutely. I
Yes, sir.
love the picks, Don. Love them.
Thank you, bud. Appreciate you.
Yeah, I just, I want to add one thing, and I just thought of this. The one person that we kind of failed to mention is somebody who's looking to break through and is a hometown guy, and he's not going to be chasing a win in the cup in the truck series this year at Las Vegas. So I'm going to give a dark horse
Okay.
and say
I'll give you 2 this week. We'll put it on the ground.
a dark horse, Kyle Busch. Why
Absolutely.
not? Because the guy's got a chip on his shoulder as well, and I think that team's turned the corner as far as how I've seen them perform so far at the start this year. So I want to just throw that wrinkle out there for all you Rowdy Nation fans out there. I think this could be a fun weekend for you guys. Who knows? Again, everybody's hunting for Christopher Bell right now, and I think
Yep.
everybody's going to give it their best effort. But I do believe that there is going to be a small handful of cars to go through to get them. But I could see it from the 8 camp, and a hometown win for Kyle Busch I think would be really special to end the the winless race drought in his home state. That would be really cool.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What a great second dark horse. It's really, I'm surprised we didn't mention him either. I think it's just a product of the fact that he hasn't been as successful as Rowdy is normally. So he just kind of got not overlooked, but there are other guys that have been performing better that kind of caught our attention. But that's a great dark horse to add in there. I'm looking forward to it. It's Vegas, baby. Weather's supposed to be really nice this weekend. Go out there and enjoy that Holler Parade. I know they're rolling in. I think it's on Thursday night. If it's not too late, I'm not sure if when we're listening to this or when we upload it, but that's all right. But I'm excited, man. Another great, exciting intermediate track to kind of get a real solid idea of where everybody's at and how their season's going to shape up. So I'm looking forward to it. But another wonderful preview brought to you by your guys at Five Lug Racing. Always, of course, make sure to go like and subscribe and all the good stuff that comes with it. We want to engage with you guys. Tell us what you're thinking about Las Vegas. Tell us what you're thinking about the season so far. Has your driver won yet? Probably not unless you're a Christopher Bell fan, but that's all right. There's a long season. We got playoffs, going to be here before we know it. I know it's week 5, but dang, it's going to come quick. So, all right, y'all. We appreciate everybody sticking with us for the episode. Thank you so much, Ryan, as always, my partner in crime. And we'll catch you guys on the next one. Y'all take care.